Welcome to Dandysoap DIY. This is how to convert a chest into heirloom furniture. This particular chest of mine, I took the back and the sides off, and it was just a pine box with handles, and it was really big and bulky. So using the 2-inch back that I took down, I screwed it to sit it in and reattached the hinges. That way the lid overhung and I could raise it up without pulling it away from the wall, and now the lid is set in to make heirloom furniture with apple storage. I also cut it down by 3 inches and added 4-inch legs underneath, leaving the handles. Now I can move it around easily if I need to. I stained the top with navy or Minwax and 2 coats of chalk paint. Now I chose all of my chalk paints that I desired to use. And you'll need a brayer, because in this example, I'm using IOD stamps. You can use any stamps. And this is just a method, a way of utilizing your stamps and turning your beautiful pieces and your chest trunks into heirloom furniture. It'll be in your family forever. So I started out by stamping my template onto paper, and then I began laying out my design onto the chest where I wanted it, and I simply just took and cut them rough cut without being precise, but as close to the design as possible. And I used just a regular packing paper that was large enough for the stamp and some painter's tape to adhere them into place. This gave me my layout, and because this is done with all of your heart, make your design and reach through to your creative abilities and make it truly one of a kind, and no one will have one just like it. As you can see here, I utilized all the elements, the birds, the blooms, the flowers, and even the diving bird. The branches and everything are on this particular stamp, but you could use any stamp that you desire. And as you lay your pieces out, you'll be able to understand how to convert a chest. Let me take you along with me, and you'll see how I did it. So the next step here is, how do we move our templates per se that we've already posed and positioned where we want them without disturbing our design and getting it to the stamping or process. And I have an easy solution for you. There's 2 ways you can do it. The first one is, if you're really truly concerned about, can I get it all arranged just the way I've got it laid out and not move anything. So remember, like the branches will have to be in the background. That's the first thing you want to stamp on. So you're not really overly concerned about that just yet. You're concerned about the other pieces that you placed that will be basically stamped last. So you have to do it in a backwards fashion. You got to do your branches, and then your blooms and leaves, and then your other elements. So this is the first way that you could do it. You can take your acrylic piece, if you got this from IOD or one of your stamping sets or any type of acrylic. You can even use the back cover of the stamps. They have one on both sides. They have a back side and a front side. So if you want to, you could use one of those. It's simply up to you. So the first thing you can do is lay your acrylic mat there. Static electricity, your paper will actually kind of cling to your mat. But what's really cool, because these stamps are sticky front and back and will adhere to this acrylic, you can actually just tape your acrylic here and then place your stamps in the position for your elements. Only do the top layer. For example, these blooms, the leaves that are here would be the top elements, and you could go ahead and put your stickers there on this side where the stamp would actually be, and use the templates to kind of mark where they go. Then when you get ready to do the branches, you can flip your acrylic and once again go ahead and position your stamp and get it inked and paint or whichever one you're going to use, and go ahead and stamp it. And that way you can remove these elements because you'll have them positioned on your mat already. The second way you could do it is if you're real worried about, oh, I'm going to shift it or something like that, you could use some double-sided tape and just a tiniest smidge, and place it on your elements. And then that way when you press your acrylic there, it'll pull up your elements and stick them to your mat. And then you could go ahead and position your branch on the opposite side. Flip it around and go ahead and position your branch, put the paint or ink on it that you're going to use, and stamp it. And then that way, when you get ready to do the other ones, they will already be positioned and ready to go. Now bear in mind that the way I've done this acrylic is the IOD is actually on this side, and so you're working in reverse fashion, and then your stamp will be adhered here. So I'll give you an example. Before I do the example, I also wanted to share with you that this particular IOD stamp, it does come with the bonus mask. You can use your paper templates as your masking. You don't necessarily have to use the actual masking that's in here. So if you wanted that branch to really truly stay in the background and not be disturbed by the other stamps or anything of that fashion, you could actually take the masking once you've stamped the branch and place the branch masking onto the branch. Then stamp your elements, and once you've stamped them, you can remove the mask. The masking is reusable, so you could just clean it up and use it again. But if you're doing something like maybe this, and say you've used up the masking, or you couldn't, it still wasn't working for you, because they do slide around and they don't have a stickiness to them. And maybe the static cling being on a vertical like this, they won't stay to it. So you could actually use your paper and cover the branch and just use your painter's tape that you've got it taped in place. So just a FYI, and once again, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. But if you were really concerned, you could take just a smidge of your double-sided tape, place it on your elements, and then stick them to the one side so that front face would be there. But being that I'm going to be putting my stamps on there in advance so that I can move this task along really quick, I'm going to just plain put the cling of the stamp directly to it. So that's two different ways. Because this is on a vertical, I was fearing that would really be cumbersome and get in my way. So I don't know that I want to do the double-sided tape, because since these stamps cling really easy to this, I'm just going to actually hold it up there and place the stamps where my elements are, so they're already there. And then I'm going to rotate my mat and capture my placement for my branch and go ahead and have it in position. I'll then mix up my paint that I'm going to use, or the stamp, whichever way I decide, whichever color I want. I really like this denim blue distressed ink. This is the Tim Holtz distressed stamp. So this is the distressed. And like I said, this one is, called Faded Jeans. And it looks really, really good just sitting here. And it does have that aged look. It's matching my lid really good. It will take longer for the ink to dry on this paint. And that was my concern, is smearing. And so that's why I may end up going with the chalk paints instead. But I have two different items I can use. And I'm going to try my hand at mixing my paint, vintage looking color, in order to match my trunk. Black would look really beautiful on this, but I do have the Waverly Nautical Blue, and I of course have also the Waverly or Home Decor, which is both by Folk Art, ink. And that way I could do this either way. But I did want it to have a more vintage feel to it, and an aged look, since this is going to be an heirloom treasure box or heirloom trunk. And that's the way I'm going to update this furniture. And just for something different, because I really am very conservative, and most everything in my home is very neutral and very conservative. And this is kind of me stretching and flexing my creative ability and design by truly getting to utilize the IOD stamps that I love so much. So this is your back cover, and of course you have your front cover that they're attached to, which is how we're going to attach them to the acrylic sheet. But this is also an acrylic sheet. It's just not grafted out or has lines, but it's stiff and would work really good. And of course, you know, it's going to be able to be held and formed and slid. Now, a lot of you may be questioning, why are you using that big sheet? Well, you could buy 2 of them or cut it down or get you your other stamps with graphics and use that. You could even use, I'm a quilter, so you could use your quilting rollers. They'll cling to it. I have stampers and things like that. But the idea is to make it very comfortable and usable, and being practical. So don't box yourself in. Now this, you can see the front side of the stamps, and that's what I was telling you. Whenever you have your sheet there, like I pre-stamped with this last night to make my templates, and then I take them out and place them where I wanted. I took my time in my design, because remember, this is customized heirloom, you know, trunk, and this is your design, and it's using your creative mind and really truly just seeing what all you can do. So we're in my den, and I know the light is shining in through the window, but it's the only option I had. Bear with me, because you're going to love this. So I have these already in place as to where I want them, and they pull off of this sheet really easy. So, I mean, you might have to try a little bit, but they will not tear. These are truly high quality, excellent. And if I could, I would become an IOD retailer representative. But at this juncture, I'm not able to do that. But I highly recommend that you get this particular one if you love birds. And this is the dogwood tree. It's just beautiful. The branches, it really was the draw for me. And also, these blooms could also be used as forget-me-nots, so bear that in mind. Dogwood blooms look very much like a forget-me-not. However, they do have, you know, 4 petals on a forget-me-not, but no one would know the difference unless you were like me, an herbalist. But these have 5 petals. You could also use these as like Johnny Jump Ups, your little violas, and just different elements. Also, these little bundles of the seeding of a dogwood could also be used as Queen Anne's lace. There are variations. Also, a rose, when a rose first comes out, or chrysanthemum, it looks just like this bloom. There are many different things. The leaves could be used in so many different ways and fashion. And remember, you don't have to cover the entire branch. You could just use portions of it. That's the great thing about using the mask or creating your own template as your mask. And we'll learn some other tricks along the way that I'm going to share with you about using stamps and molds of IOD that you're really going to love. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for upcoming ideas and videos such as this. So getting back to the stamps. We have our sheet here, and those elements I know, so I'm going to pull them off. And right now I'm looking at the 3 florals. That's this one up here, and like I said, just pull it off of the acrylic. It's stiff, but those flowers, the stamp itself is very durable, high quality. It's not going anywhere. I did not pre-sand mine as it suggested to do that, because if it does have that vintage broken up, I am simply fine with that. Sometimes there might be a little bit of rubber there that you do need to sand, and so if you want to, you can sand those. I did not pre-sand mine. This is the first time they've ever been taken off of this acrylic. I did stamp the whole sheet to create my template, and as you can see, I removed the stamp And the IOD is wonderful because they have it in black on the sheet, so you can really easily locate where to place that stamp back to keep your sheet and keep it clean. And so once you've used your stamps, you want to make sure that you don't leave them sitting and let paint or ink dry on them. You want to wash them in warm soapy water and, you know, pat them dry with a lint-free paper towel or something, and then place them back onto your mat so you can use them another time and you don't have to worry about any of the residue transferring or your stamp getting clogged up. I can also recommend a cleaner, and I'll put that in the description box down below if you'd like to check it out. So here we go. I've got my first one pulled out, and as soon as you get that acrylic close to them, they'll cling to it. I love that. That's just the difference in using a high quality stamp that is designed for furniture, and it is at a higher quality level, and it is extremely durable. So here we have the mat sitting here. Here is the floral. And okay, so I need to make a correction. I was telling you to lay your acrylic this way, and then that way you could do the rotation. Because these are the elements, I know that I need to reposition them. I've got to switch sides. So now that I've got it turned around the way that they would actually be working, I need to move the little flowers down here. And that's an easy fix. I just love this. So if I'm holding them here per se, well, I can do the one. And this will make it super easy because all I have to do now is put my mat there. And now it's clung to the mat. Just that easy. So easy. And then since this one, if it's here, it's going to be at this position. And so therefore I can just kind of put it right there. Make sure my mat's good and flat. Capture it. And voila. It's that simple. That way you're not just really stressing over it. And I'm just going to lay that there. Put my mat back there. So that it's exactly where I want it. And just pick it up. It's just so easy to work with these. And if you need to, you can do these one at a time, but it won't be necessary because you can really easily, oh, I turned that the wrong way. Make sure your flat side is going against your acrylic, not your stamp side. As I said, it's not perfect, you know. There. And trust me, this is worth doing. It's worth doing. Take the time to do it. And it is so worth doing. I want to make sure those are not touching, so I'm going to bring it down just a teeny bit. Let me make sure, check everything. Yep, it's exactly where I want it.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. of butterflies. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're gentle and wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry.
I have the top edge there, or the top level of my chest, stamped with the paints. And of course it's chalk paint, so it dries really quick. And to do the top, I simply used some washi tape and lined out the center so that I could place my acrylic there. I took some craft paper and I pre-inked all of the stamp letters and to the sheet, cut them, and because I wanted this to be in an oval shape, I taped those with painter's tape where they need to be. Then of course I placed the stamps underneath, pressed my white ink, which I'll put a link in the description box down below. You can find it at a craft store, and put Morgan's Treasures. This way, heirloom. So this is how you use masking. Using the masking to monogram, I'd already did my M in the center, laid the masking there. And in the other IOD stamp, I had the foliage and the alphabetes. And these alphabetes are excellent. Once again, laid it there, pressing it, and not rubbing. And when I lift this up, voila, we have the M monogram right there, undisturbed. And what is really neat is the mask clung to the stamp, so I could easily remove it, clean it up, and reuse it. And that's what I mean, these kind of float around, they're not sticky. Using some regular rubbing alcohol that I keep handy in this dispenser, you can clean your stamps up real quick and remove any excess ink and make them clean again. There is a ink cleaner that I will recommend that's in the description box down below. But very quickly, and then underneath, I put this identical stamp with the exception of the E and the G on the under lid. That way if my daughter wishes to change it at another time, she can. Be sure to seal your piece with clear wax if you're using chalk paints, and from this to this. Till the next DIY, this is Elizabeth, and I'll be crafting y'all.